Greetings fellow guitar travellers, and welcome to another episode of Fusion Essentials, and this episode is entitled Pentatonic Superimposition, which sounds amazingly complicated but is in fact a very simple concept indeed. So let's get straight into today's lesson, Pentatonic Superimposition. Let's jazz. Fusion. Let's do it. Now, I'm forever plugging my website on these videos, and at the risk of boring you all to death, please have a look at my website, which is www.rowanjparker.com. I'll not say any more about it today, just have a look. If you're interested in finding out more about it, I'll do a little spiel about it at the end. But for today, on with the lesson. Okay, so pentatonic superimposition, what is that all about? Well, fundamentally, it's a sneaky and easy way of making your playing sound interesting and jazzy just by applying the simple pentatonic scales that you already know. So, just before we get into this, we're going to have to do a little bit of theory so we can understand exactly what we can play and why it works. So let's do that. So let's consider the chord we're playing over here. It is A minor 7, and it is a static one chord groove or one chord vamp. Now this A minor 7th chord functions harmonically like a 2 chord, which means it functions like the second chord of a major key. So we need to ask ourselves what major key is it actually related to. And you can figure this out just by going down from the second degree of the scale to the first degree, i.e. down a tone, 2 frets. So what lies 2 frets underneath A? Well, the answer to that of course would be G. So the parent major scale for this A minor 7 chord is G major. So now let's have a look at the harmonised scale of G major to find out what other chords are in G major. The first chord in the key of G is obviously G, and then it's A minor, then it's B minor, C major, D major, E minor, F sharp diminished, or F sharp minor 7 flat 5 if it's the 7th, and then back to G. Now, it's the minor chords of the key that we're interested in, that is the A minor, B minor and E minor chords. And the reason we're interested in those chords is because we're going to use those pentatonic scales to superimpose on top of our A minor 7 chord. So, let's just briefly explain. On top of our A minor 7 chord, it's fairly obvious we can play A minor pentatonic. In fact, if you've been playing the guitar for just a short while, a year or two, that's probably all you would know. You would know that over a minor chord you could play a minor pentatonic. The interesting thing is that's not the only minor pentatonic you can play. You can play the minor pentatonics of the 2, the 3 and the 6. That is A minor, B minor and E minor, i.e. all the minor chords of the parent major key. So also, in addition to A minor pentatonic on top of A minor 7, we can also play E minor pentatonic on top of our A minor 7 chord. And we can also play B minor pentatonic on top of our A minor 7 chord. And each one of these pentatonics will have their own unique colour or flavour to them, and you can use this to really expand the sound of your improvisation. So you guys probably all know tons of kind of pentatonic and blues licks. Well, you can just move these around into the other relative scales which fit, play the same lick, but it'll sound totally different. So let's carry on with the theory side of things and just have a quick look at the notes in each scale, compare it to the chord and understand what intervals we're getting in the scales and why this whole thing works. So let's do that. Now let's go ahead and look at our minor pentatonic scales and relate them to the chord, the A minor 7 chord, and let's see what we have. An A minor pentatonic scale contains the following notes: A, C, D, E and G. Let's look at the relationship of those notes to the A minor 7 chord. Obviously the A note is the root of the A minor 7 chord. The next note, C, that's the flattened third or minor third of our A minor 7 chord. The D note is the 4th or 11th. The E note is the 5th, perfect 5th, and the G note is the flattened 7th. So you can see that fundamentally this A minor pentatonic sound is almost exactly the same as the chord, because it contains all the same notes as an A minor 7 chord, with the exception of D, which is the 4th or 11th. So actually this scale, it's very inside and it's very, you know, concordant with the chord, but it's not particularly interesting because it doesn't really add anything to the sound of the chord that we're playing. All it adds is the 4th or 11th, which is a nice colour tone, but other than that it's fairly boring. So actually, first thing to take away from this is that A minor pentatonic on top of an A minor 7 is the most boring thing you can possibly play because it doesn't expand the harmony at all. So let's give you a brief playing demonstration of A minor pentatonic on top of our A minor 7 chord. Let's do that. Okay, a very familiar sound, A minor pentatonic on top of A minor 7. So let's push along now. Look at the next one, which is E minor pentatonic on top of our A minor 7. Here are the notes that comprise E minor pentatonic. We have E, G, A, B, D and E. Now let's look at the relationship of all these notes to the A minor 7 chord. The E note is the 5th of the A minor 7 chord, the G note is the flat 7, minor 7th, the A is clearly the root, and then the B is the 2nd or 9th, and then the D is the 4th or 11th. So this is quite an interesting sound because we have the B notes, which is the 9th, which is a nice colour tone to add into our chord. So when we play E minor pentatonic on top of the A minor 7 chord, we imply the sound of A minor 9. So it's quite a pleasant sound to add in. So let's go straight to the playing demo where we just noodle a little bit with our E minor pentatonic scale on top of our A minor 7 chord. Here we go. So I think you can hear from that scale that's a very interesting and colourful sound because we have the 9 and the 11. So let's push on to the last one, which is B minor pentatonic, which is the most interesting of all. Here's B minor pentatonic. B, D, E, F sharp, A and B. So let's compare against our A minor 7 chord. We have B, which is the 2nd or 9th, D, which is the 4th or 11th, E, which is the 5th, and then this note, which is F sharp. Now in relationship to our A minor 7 chord, that would be the 6th or 13th, implying the sound of A minor 6 or A minor 13. So it's quite an interesting note, and I'll come back to that in just a second. And then after that it's A, which will be obviously the root, and B, which is the 2nd or 9th again. Now the F sharp is important because this is what might be called the Dorian 6. It's the major 6 on a minor chord, which you find in the Dorian mode. So you might describe this pentatonic as being a Dorian specific pentatonic, in that it contains the Dorian specific note, the F sharp, the major 6, and gives that particular sort of flavour to your improvisation when you use it. So let's just do this last little improvisation demo using B minor pentatonic on top of our A minor 7 chord. Here we go. So as you can probably hear, that is the most interesting and colourful of the lot. Okay, so each one produces its own unique and interesting sound. For me, in order of interest, the least interesting, A minor pentatonic, and then it's E minor pentatonic because we add in the 9th, and then most interesting is the B minor pentatonic because we have the 6th or 13th. Okay, well, that's about wraps it up for this lesson. We're going to give you one last little playing demo, which is everything all together. It's actually the same clip as the start of the video. Okay, so let's listen to that. Okay, that concludes another episode of Fusion Essentials. Quite a simple concept this week, I think you'll agree, but a great way of expanding your soloing. The first time I came across this particular idea, I think it was from Scott Henderson, the great fusion player. So if you're interested, check out Scott's playing because he's an absolute monster. Now, to further plug my website, www.rowanjparker.com, lots of free backing tracks on that site and tons of lessons. You can also subscribe to the site just by sticking your email address into the subscribe box, hit subscribe, and you get access to even more free and exclusive material. You can also book Skype lessons through my website. There's a link for that, just follow that. Stick your email address, I'll get right back to you. And you can also buy things from the website store, help support me, struggling musician, etc, etc. Any support is greatly appreciated. Otherwise, you can get more of my backing tracks on SoundCloud at Rowan-Parker. I'm on Facebook, have a Facebook page, Rowan J Parker, which you can like if you like. And I'm also on Twitter, if you want to follow me on Twitter, though I rarely use it, so don't bother. And of course, tons of videos on the YouTube channel. Well, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next week for another episode of Fusion Essentials. Until then, farewell.